Hello, welcome back to the Merch Nerd podcast, currently the vlogcast, because in this day 9 of 28 days of Just Talk Challenge, I have yet to rip off the audio and put this onto the podcast. So if you're listening on the podcast later, I'm a couple weeks later, 9 days late, but it's okay. That's the magic of the 28-day Just Talk Challenge. It's not about being perfect, it's about getting out there, getting it published, and for me this week, I committed to doing what was comfortable, and I will catch up with the tech next week. So if you hear noise, that is my dog wandering around and deciding that she all of a sudden needs my attention. But anyway, welcome back. Again, I'm Brenna, I am the Merch Nerd, and today I am excited because we're going to do the first brand blueprint breakdown that's themed with this weekend's upcoming event. So it is about to be the Super Bowl. We're not going to talk about the football aspect. I actually want to talk about the Kelcee brothers and how what they have done is such a great blueprint for taking an audience that you don't own or you don't have a direct connection with and pulling them into something that is yours and creating a direct connection with them. And I also want to look at how they are using merch. Just for them really as an income stream more than anything else, but also how their values are reflected throughout this process, because we talked about who you are, and one of the things that you want to consider is your values, and make sure that that's built into your brand, because it's something people will connect with you on. And remember, those values are your moral values, but also kind of what you like to do. So we will get to that. But first, let's just talk about who the Kelcees are. And I'm going to give you the kind of caveat is I know next to nothing about football. I am not a sports person. All of my sports knowledge comes from kind of osmosis. My business partners are really into sports. My friend group up in Georgia and Alabama is really into sports, so I go to a lot of events that are sports related just because I like the community, but my knowledge is almost nil. So that, since I don't know anything about football, but I do know marketing and branding, that's kind of my weird obsession. I want to talk about, again, what the Kelcees have done and how brilliant it is and what we can all learn from it and how we can model it in what we do. So a quick rundown, they both are NFL players, they're brothers. Jason, the older one, plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. Travis, the younger brother, plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, who happen to be in this year's Super Bowl. Travis is also dating a huge pop star, the biggest star in the world currently, probably the most famous person in the world currently. Maybe she's second to the Pope, but that's about it. So they've really gotten a lot more scrutiny, and scrutiny probably less so that than just attention to what they do. But Travis and Jason previously had established this before the big pop star came into the picture. And what is this? It's their podcast. So both of them are very well-known, very popular football players, obviously on two different teams. But the football players have no direct connection to the fans, or it's extremely minimal. The NFL, the individual teams have very minimal direct connection to the fans unless those fans have joined some sort of fan club. Again, pulling a big group into a small group, kind of attracting some of the people into a community where you can then directly communicate with them, typically through email. But if you go to an Eagles game or a Chiefs game or whoever's game, they don't have your email address. They don't have a way to text you or give you a good deal or say, hey, how are you doing? How did you think about the game? It's just you're a person who spent money for a spot in a stadium. They want you to hopefully spend more money on beer and hot dogs and various things, but you're somewhat anonymous past that in the audience. So, and that's really similar to what happens to content creators, is you can build this really huge audience, but you only connect with them through the platform that you're on. you don't have a direct connection to them. You don't have a way to reach out separate from that. So this is where the Kelcee brothers' brilliance has played out. So number one, they started this podcast. And because they're just funny and charming, like I will say, like I now watch their podcast. Again, I don't know anything about football, but they're just fun people to watch and listen to. You know, this podcast has become really popular. But whether or not it was popular, they have given their specific fans a place to commune with them. They are serving those fans by sharing their story, honestly, by selling them stuff through ads, but by being there, giving those fans an opportunity to connect with them more closely, more intimately. Yeah, and yes, a podcast with millions of followers is still more intimate than a football stadium with 80,000 people, because it's kind of, it feels smaller. You're in a, kind of a smaller conversation, even though it's not real, it feels like it is. So that's step one. They provided the opportunity by creating a community for their fans to be in a more intimate relationship with them. So that's one model. The first thing we're going to model after we build the fan base, or as we're building our content community, is create a platform, invite those fans onto a platform. So in their case, it's the podcast. But that's not enough. We don't want to stop there because they still don't have direct communication with their podcast audience. I watch them on YouTube. You might listen to them on your podcast app of choice. But again, they don't have any way to email me, message me directly, whether I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple, or I'm on YouTube, or wherever else I catch them. But we are a smaller group, and we are a group focused on them as personalities and as people versus them as players on a team. So here's brilliant thing number two they've done. They have a membership where you actually sign up and you give them your email address. And now you are invited into even a more intimate relationship, or a smaller, closer relationship, where you find out things ahead of time. They can reach out to you directly. You get discounts, you get prizes. But the big takeaway here is they now have a way to communicate with their fans directly. They don't have to just say something on a podcast and hope you hear. They don't have to hope that you type in some web address to some link. They don't have to try to talk you through a series of steps to interact with them. That can all happen through email, through the platform that they use, where you can click something, you can chat. And having that community doesn't just give our followers a connection to us, it gives them a connection to each other. I think especially in today's world where people are working from home still somewhat, everybody's really busy, like there's a lack of connection interpersonally. And people still want that, but it's hard to find. So these online communities they fill that gap. They bring people together, and you know that you already have a similarity because you probably like football. You at least like these two guys. And you're going to have just a base level of things to talk about. And because of the personalities of Travis and Jason, because they're funny, they're lighthearted, they laugh at themselves, they really lift up everybody around them. They're always complimenting other players, even players on other teams. So they're just like positive. You're probably going to be interacting with other people who are also positive, who are also love football, but don't have to tear anybody else down in that love of football. And that is the model here. That is the secret sauce to being immune as much as you can be to the changes of the platform, the changes in the algorithms, the ebb and flow of which platform even is the best one to connect on. If you have that direct connection to your fans, no matter what happens around you, you can reach them directly. You have their address. You can you're mailing them an invitation to say, hey, you know what? YouTube went out of business. Like, who knows? Like, they were bought up. Somebody decided they didn't like them. YouTube got shut down. if that happened to even some of these huge creators, like Sophia Nygaard, I think just hit 10 million subscribers, but she doesn't have any kind of membership. If YouTube shut down tomorrow, she would have almost no way to contact even 1% of the people who are her subscribers. If she had a membership, not all 10 million people would join it, but even if she had 100,000 people who signed up or 200,000 people, she would have a way to immediately reach out and say, hey, you know what? This platform just died, but I still make videos. We're going to find a way to get them to you. And in the meantime, here's where I am. Here's what we can do. So that is the secret sauce. It's really all about getting people onto your email list. And it's still about email, even though it's been around, well, not really forever, but since the beginning of the internet. It's really what started the internet. Because of that, because even if your email server changes, even if Google shut down tomorrow, as long as you have people's email addresses, you could still reach out to them and say, hey, Google shut down, but instead we're all meeting up over here on Yawazi's platform, or who knows, but something would pop up to fill that gap, and we can all find each other there, but you can issue direct invitations. So there's the basic model. Bring people into a smaller community. Theirs is free, sometimes they're paid, but the really idea is bringing people together, attracting those people who are your super fans, or at least your more than casual fans, into a smaller, more intimate place to both interact with you and interact with each other. And in that process, getting their email addresses so you can establish a direct connection to them, a direct way to access them. Now let's talk about the merch. And I think they also do a really great job here. So their merch is t-shirts primarily, which makes sense. Their audience are people who are sports fans. Sports fans wear a ton of t-shirts. So t-shirts are a good match for who they're selling to. They're kind of a neutral option, but even a neutral option doesn't always fit everybody. So t-shirts are perfect for them. But even in their t-shirts, and I encourage you to go check out their store. I think it's newheightstore.com. I should know that, but I don't. One of the things I love, and the kind of another piece that I think is a great model, is sure they have their logo on like 1 or 2 t-shirts, but people don't care about your logo. What they care about is being able to, again, be connected to you, but also be connected to other fans. So inside jokes, little kind of things that are, again, like inside jokes, FOMO things that are unique to who you are, who your audience is, how you connect with them, and that people would wear anyway, are the key to making good wearable merch, or even mugs, things like that. Unless you're Nike or Adidas or Champion, amazingly, or Louis Vuitton, like most people don't care about your brand. So leading with branded merch is not as successful as small creators think it is. But so they don't. And if you look at their merch, again, they do have some New Heights stuff. I'm actually going here to give you their actual. But most of it is kind of insider things. So the 92% Club, they're called 92%ers. That came from something Jason said at one point during the podcast. New News is something they do every podcast about things going on in football. They have All Right Now, which is something Travis says a lot. Big Yeti is Travis's nickname. Fat Batman is Jason's nickname. And then recently, if you watch football at all, you probably saw shirtless Jason cheering on his brother at the Buffalo Bills game. And so they have that as a t-shirt currently. So most of their merch, when you go to their store, does not say New Heights. They do have a few pieces, but or New Heights is secondary small on the shirt, but the primary focus is something that is more kind of unique to the show, unique to their conversations, and again builds not only community, but kind of the exclusivity of a community, which is what people also want. Like, you want to be in a group, but sometimes it's kind of cool to be like the insider knowledge of the group. So if you see Big Yeti, you're like, okay, are you calling yourself a Big Yeti? Are you declaring that you're a Big Yeti? But if you're a New Heights fan, you're going to know where that comes from. If you see 92%ers, again, like, that's a weird, it's an odd thing to be, like, what's 92%? Unless you're a New Heights fan, and then you know where that comes from, and that you guys are the 92%ers. That's the group identity for the New Heights fan club. And again, like, their shirts in general, people would wear them anyway. They're attractive, they're aesthetically pleasing, whether or not you know what's going on, why they're there. That's another thing people do, I think, poorly, especially with t-shirts, is a lot of times they're just ugly, so you wouldn't want to wear them. And they are logo heavy, and people don't care in general. So I think they are really knocking it out of the park. So one thing that I think that they should add in their upcoming endeavors are kind of what I talked about with what Taylor has been doing, kind of basically merch packages, doing more horizontal offers. And I don't see this when I click on the offer, but what I would, if I were giving them advice, what I would say is anytime, like, you get you click on one of the t-shirts, they also offer maybe a hat or a hoodie to go with it. Now, the company they work with, which we'll go back to their values, we'll talk about that in a second, really brilliantly sells blanks. So they actually sell unprinted t-shirts and tanks and long sleeves. So that would be another great kind of add-on offer and an upsell, especially with a t-shirt, is to say, hey, do you want to get a long sleeve to wear underneath this? So especially during, they both live in cold places. Their fandom, a lot of football played in winter. A lot of people are having to go to football games in the cold. So you want to wear like a long sleeve shirt underneath your t-shirt to stay warm. That would be a great offer, kind of a great upsell offer, and kind of do those horizontal offers, add things on. And because they're selling their shirts through actually a local Columbus company, or an Ohio company, it's just individual sales, so they are not the ones in charge of shipping or branding, but this seems like a cool company, so they probably have their own branding with it. Now, that's the final thing I do want to kind of circle back to, which connects to what we talked about yesterday about your values and how your values affect how you work. And the company that they're using to do their merch is a local Columbus, Ohio company. Well, I think they grew up in Cincinnati, but they love where they come from. I think their podcast is sort of a play on the fact that they come from Old Heights or South Heights, something Heights, Cincinnati. And so they used an Ohio company. This is a small company. It's been around for a long time. Their shirts are tri-blend, and it looks like they're made for homage. Should be pronounced homage. I'm not sure if it actually is. So it's super high quality shirts. Tri-blend's expensive. That's the most expensive type of t-shirt blank you can get, other than like cashmere or something. But it's a local company. They're not coming out of China. They're not using some big kind of anonymous company. They're using a company that does do online sales, but it doesn't work with any of their, and does actually have quite a bit of licensed stuff, but it doesn't look like they work with any of their brands, like Travis and Jason's brand. Kind of a smaller brand, which is cool. That means they kind of reached out and they made this new arrangement with a company that definitely can fulfill the need, but it's local. It's local guys. They're local, kind of, the guy started in his parents' basement, if you watch the story. It's, again, very much their values, very family oriented, very kind of, small business oriented. And so that, again, is how your values play a role in what you do, and should play a role in what you do. But again, or give you another point of connection with your fan base or with your audience. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm part of their fan base. I'm definitely part of their audience. And this makes me like them more. The fact that the company they use to make their shirts is an Ohio company, a small business, just, again, makes me trust them more, makes me respect them more. It really shows that they put their time and their money where their mouth is, and kind of, that they truly stand for what they stand for, and it's not just for publicity's sake. So, as you watch the game this Sunday, if you are somebody who is going to watch the game, or if you're not going to watch the game, I do highly encourage you to take a look at their website, take a look at their merch, and just their model, because they are doing what we all need to be doing, and they're doing it really well and really authentically. So that is the pre-football game thought of the day, and I will be back tomorrow, and who knows what we'll talk about then. I don't. Bye, I'm Brenna, I'm the Merch Nerd. I will see you then.